Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliet Clark. It's the beginning of the year, and we need to talk about lead generation. And I'm super excited to have Kat Stancik on here today to talk about that. Before we get started, I want to remind you, go over and take our Promote, Profit, Publish quiz. You can find it at www.promoteprofitpublishquiz.com. Are you really ready to publish? Do you have a platform? Who's going to buy your book? What are your next steps? Remember, that book is not the end all be all. It is just a marketing tool. So go over and find out if you're really ready or if you have some work to do with audience building before that. Also, if you're somebody who likes visual and you're listening to podcast right now, or reading the blog, which of course you wouldn't be hearing this, you'd be reading it. We have a YouTube channel. Go over to Superbrand Publishing, follow us over there. Every single one of these is on video, and you'll actually like the video today because Kat has hair. She's like this red streak, and then she has a complimentary background. I'm imagining she's the type of girl who, like, her shoes and her purse match as well. Don't really know that. Don't know if we're going to go to the underwear match as well. I won't even ask her to disclose it, but
I'm impressed if I do pull that off, I will say. I'd be like, oh, look.
So we're really excited to have her today. And this conversation probably is going to go in some areas, some directions you don't even understand. So Kat is the person to go to for time-crunched entrepreneurs and CEOs and their teams, known as the lead boss. That's a cool name. When these teams and entrepreneurs want to create more leverage in their business, scale their revenues predictably, with or without more demand on their time, and I think most of us would agree we want without more demand on our time. Kat is the founder of the Action Incubator, 4 times best-selling author, and the co-author of the international best-selling book, Experts Never Chase. She's also the creator of the Lead Boss system. I don't know why I can't talk. It's Thursday. I don't even have an excuse that it's Monday. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate you making the time.
Well, I'm excited because beginning of the year, everybody's looking at, and hopefully they were doing this before, but we know a lot of people don't spend October, November, and December deciding this. Where am I going to get more leads? How am I going to, generate more? How do I get the right leads, qualified leads? Because you can get leads, but they can be crappy leads. So talk a little bit about what you do at Lead Boss and why you think this is important.
Well, I think that's exactly why I do what I do, which is the things that you explained, which is so many people, when it comes to the emotions that are evoked when they think about generating leads, tends to be negative. It tends to be something along the lines of, I don't want to do this. I don't know how to do this. It's wasting my time. I don't want to waste more money. I tried this strategy. I tried that strategy. And my focus is really finding the strategy that you love so that you love doing lead generation. And really kind of flipping the switch on that relationship with lead generation, because we know we can want to have sales calls, but if we don't have any leads, we have no one to close. And so one of the things that I love doing and saying is, I don't love doing this, I love saying this, which is you can have the worst sales call. And I've had them. I've had horrible sales calls. I've said all the wrong things. I didn't follow the process, but they still bought because they were the right lead. And so that's how we don't waste our time. We want to make sure that we're talking to the right people who are highly qualified and that we're qualifying people along our process so that we don't waste their time and we don't waste ours, because this is about creating that kind of match made in heaven and understanding that there is an abundance of people who want to work with you, but you've also got to know who they are. And I don't think enough people really spend enough time dialing in their ideal client. They kind of keep things at a superficial level, but they don't actually dive underneath the water and really understand what are true qualifiers and then how to get their attention and how to make the conversation easier. And what I mean is, so many people are okay with talking about the weather. We see it all the time online, but they don't know how to go from talking about the weather to whether we should work together. That weather to weather turn of the conversation is where most people get triggered by being salesy or sleazy. And there's just so many better ways than the bro marketing, forced overcoming objections, manipulative NLP BS that's out there, and where you can really be in alignment with your strengths and just have a welcoming invitation that a lot of people say yes to.
That is so true. And I want to go back to something you said there about, one size fits all. You and I were talking about this before we got on today. When we both started out, we did a lot of that bro marketing. It didn't feel good. One size fits all is not the answer. And once we both got in alignment, our businesses took off.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit? Because we both had pretty bad experiences with that.
Yeah. So, we're talking about the digital marketing space, which isn't necessarily, I mean, it's not old, right? It's still new when you come to look at, industries that have been established. It's newer than the car industry. It's newer than manufacturing. It's newer than a lot of things, but it's evolved very quickly. And so the initial strategies that used to be out there was, send an email and people will buy, right? And then people started, right? And that's not the case anymore at all. It's going to require more effort. And then came these manipulative strategies where the bros just kind of, it's kind of like fungus or, mold. It's just, it grows in dark corners and it just starts spreading and causing all kind of health issues. And basically what happened in that space was they got to the front line. So they provided strategies that did work, but it didn't work in alignment with people who didn't like showing up in that way. And what I mean is these are these hyper aggressive, I'm going to keep you on the phone and overcome all your objections until you finally give me your credit card. Strategies like, I'm going to show you how you can increase your credit line so you can buy my offer, right? It's just these things that make you feel gross and that feel gross when you do it to someone else, which is why people don't like, doing things on LinkedIn or social media, because we've got all these people coming in and sliding in and doing, pitching you like Pitchy Pete on LinkedIn, right? Sliding into your DMs and giving you PTCD, post-traumatic connection disorder. And just like not wanting to engage and just be like, hey, social media is already pretty negative, right? Like the algorithms, just that it's what sells, right? But then to have to deal with that, it just becomes this, this place you don't want to deal with. But there are a lot of good people and they just need to learn a different way. One that isn't all about forcing a decision or making someone do something, but really staying in that place of, I'm going to add value to someone's life, to someone's business, whichever way you engage with someone or their business and all that. And I'm going to be there when they're ready to make a decision. It's not this forced thing. It's an open invitation. And part of that is looking at how you're showing up and adding value. Now, a lot of the strategies out there still work. The problem is that they've been perverted because they're so hyper-focused on the pitch. And we've seen it. We've gone to events where they try to pitch within the first 10 minutes of you being there, or their pitch fest. It's pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch. There's no real value. You kind of walk away and you're like, I was here for 3 days, but I didn't do anything. I just like, what did I spend my time on? I know I did stuff. That stuff. I don't like it. I don't think that people have to do it in order to be successful. And actually, I think people who use those strategies now are less successful, and they're really putting a lot of space between them and their ability to create a business that supports their lifestyle.
That is so true. And when you were saying that, that's my latest book is Pitch Slapped. I feel like, well, you know what it sounds like. And it's the same thing.
Exactly
like
that.
Literally
it's exactly that. It's not pleasant.
That is so true. If you can actually generate those leads, get those people on a call and connect with them in a non-salesy way and make the goal of the call relationship building, I think it's much, much more successful. And people come back. They may not buy that day, but they will keep in touch. They will come back.
But that's how you build a pipeline. I don't like, people are just, there's so many people out there who just want to hit the easy button. And I get it. It's tempting. It sells. It gets you in the moment of weakness. But if you look at anything in your life, nothing came through in terms of an easy button approach. You had to learn things. You had to learn skill sets, and then you were able to start delegating. So you had to sit up before you could crawl, before you could walk, before you could run, before you could ride a bike, before you could get on an airplane, before you could drive a car, right? There is a process to things. And yes, there are ways to be able to get results faster, but that doesn't happen without you being actively involved. You can't delegate effectively until you understand what it is you are delegating so that you can measure success. And I think so many people just want to skip to the front of the line. And there's ways of doing that when you're investing in yourself, but so many people don't want to invest and they don't want to do the work. Well, that's going to keep you, in an impoverished mindset and probably in an impoverished environment.
That is so true, especially when it comes to digital marketing. How many times do you hear people say, when you lay out a strategy, oh, I don't want to learn how to do that. I don't have time. If you don't, I think that is where the biggest waste of marketing dollars comes in, is if you don't understand your own marketing plan, the process they go through, how in the world are you going to know if it's working or not? And I have actually seen digital marketing companies come back and do that. Oh, it's working, but I don't have any leads. Oh, it's working. They're telling you it's working, but you're not seeing the results. And I think what happens a lot of times is the entrepreneur gets angry about it, but they're not asking the marketer the right questions about the definition of it's working and why are you telling me that and what can you show me, because they haven't followed and learned.
Well, it almost creates this horrible inverse relationship where people are so dependent. They've invested these high ticket, and I'm in high ticket sales. That's what I do. That's what I promote. That's what I help my clients do. And so they've invested all this money. Now, these people have convinced someone who's probably not at the right level to invest all of these dollars. The problem is now their entire budget has been spent on investing in this person, and they don't have the resources to be able to add to making that strategy work. Meaning, they need that VA, they need that OBM, they need that copywriter, they need that social media strategist, whatever it is, to be able to implement this strategy that this person is probably not even using anymore, that probably doesn't even really work, and that wouldn't work at the level that the person is at. See, that's why one size fits all doesn't work, because different people are at different stages, different people have different strengths, different people have different ideal clients. And so the strategy, it's why I like my process. I'm biased, but it's a framework that we modify to fit to your strengths. It's all about, how do you show up in the world? How does your ideal client consume information? And what's the strategy that aligns them together so you keep climbing that ladder of success? Things like your quiz. Your quiz is such a great tool and strategy for a lot of people, but there are markets that don't respond well to quizzes. And you need to know that that's not your ideal client. They don't engage in that way. But yours is one of those strategies that is applicable, but the results matter. I've taken those quizzes where you've gotten the results and you're like, okay, that was a waste of my time. And I know you're a proponent of delivering value as part of the results that people get. And you look at the experience that you're walking someone through. So your quizzes don't take 5 hours to complete, right? We've seen those. It's like, how many questions is in this thing? And so it's that you're focused on what is the experience, because so much of the experience that someone has with you dictates their willingness and desire to continue to even have the conversation to potentially work with you.
That is so true. And you have to be, as an entrepreneur, your reputation is built on your integrity with your clients, your past clients, especially if you want referrals. One of the things that I would love to see more people be willing to do, and that I do very well, it probably makes me a horrible business person, is if you come to me and you say, I want a quiz where the outcome is that they're a wacky wizard, social media superstar, blah, blah, blah. I'm not your girl, because that has and people are afraid to tell them there's no benefit in that. It doesn't give you information. It doesn't give them information. And I think that's one of the big things when you're putting packages together for people. If you go over to our website, we don't have prices. We don't have packages. We don't have prices. And people say all the time, well, I don't know how much you cost. Well, I don't know what you need. And everything is a la carte with us, because we need to talk to you and find out, what do you have built? What do you need? And where are you going with this? And can we help with that?
And you're calling out exactly something that's really important. There are different business models for different people and who they like to work with. That's a business model. There are other business models where it might make sense to have a package because you're walking people through a process. I have programs that are out there that are for groups. There's a process I walk people through. I have programs out there that nobody knows about because they're invitation only. They're high ticket because it depends on the person. It's really a very qualified person, because that's the person I can get results for. And that's the difference, is I know exactly the kind of person who will get results from this offer or this offer. And I need to qualify them to see which one is in their best interest, because can I close someone at that higher ticket? Yeah, but that may not be what's right for them. Right. And that's why we want to make sure we understand our ideal clients, because it's not wrong to have multiple offers. I think it's wrong to have a gajillion offers.
Right.
You want to keep it simple. But it's really about understanding what kind of lifestyle do you want to live, because not everybody wants to be a Fortune 100. I love working with boutique businesses. These are businesses that's them, but that doesn't mean that they're not earning 7 figures, multiple 7 figures. It's all possible, but you have to make sure that you're leveraging the right business model for your goals and how you want to live.
That's so true. So let's differentiate here where you're out there generating leads. Are you wasting your time with unqualified leads? Because I think that's where people really spin their wheels. And I remember when I was in real estate, we had an office and we were one of the top producers in a very large company. And people from the surrounding offices, other realtors would come and they go, I have 67 leads. And we would just look at them and go, and how many of them have contracts? How many of them are in the car? How many? And so a lead is not always a qualified lead. And how do you differentiate and how do you qualify?
So what they were talking in my world, because people interchange these words all the time, there's prospects and there's leads. Mm-hmm. So for me, a prospect is someone, it's kind of like, they're very far away. They have a fake, you can kind of see their outline, but you're not really sure. Are they a guy, are they a girl? Are they got blonde hair? They're just really far in the distance and they look like a human blob, but they're not a lead yet, meaning you don't know their characteristics. You haven't been able to qualify them. They're not in focus. So someone who you have that context, that relationship with, meaning they know who you are and you know who they are, that's where we start building the relationship. And it's important to really call out the fact that we value the relationship over the transaction. Because so many people look at leads in a lead is a client or not a client, right? It's just like a yes, no kind of situation. A lead is multidimensional. And what I mean is that a lead is absolutely a potential client, but it's also a referral partner. It's also, a JV. It's also a friend. It's also someone who can get you on a podcast, who get you a speaking gig, who can get you blah, 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 blah. Like the list goes on in terms of the available options to you. Now, here's where most people go wrong. They don't keep walking through the doors. So what I mean is once you pick one of those doors, all of those options become available to you again. And that's how you turn one contact, one connection, one lead into an infinite supply of opportunity. But most people don't keep track. They don't follow up. They don't fill their pipeline. They just let connections and conversations fly by the wayside because they're hunting for that next client instead of building a pipeline. So I talk about, are you investing in the pipe dream or are you investing in your pipeline? Right.
Oh, I love that.
So these one quick gimmick strategies, that's all pipe dream stuff, right? It's not actually putting food on the table. It's not actually producing results. But a pipeline is something that will constantly provide you all the options. Every time I fill a group program, every time I fill my high ticket program, it's not with a cold contact. Have I had cold contacts turn into clients? Absolutely. It's not who I focus on. Every time I fill a group program, it's someone I have context with. Meaning I've had a conversation, they've seen me speak, they've been in my world, they're in my Facebook group, they're on my email list, consuming until they're ready to say yes. Meaning it's my job to continue to provide them opportunities to say yes. It's their job to put their flag in the air and say, I'm ready. And you have to watch out because there's the I'm ready flag and then there's the red flags. So, and a lot of times people are like, oh, well, it's an orange flag. It's a yellow flag. A flag is a flag. If a flag is orange or yellow, it's just been hanging out in the sun too long. So if you see a flag on the play, you pass, right? We don't work with unqualified people, meaning that person is ready to work with someone else. You need to bless and release them so they find the right resource. Yes. So they get results. And because you honored them and honored their values and honored yourself, who do you think they're going to come back to when they are ready to work with you? Or who do you think they're going to refer? Because their experience with you was a positive one. Again, all of this is the things you have to think about when you're building your pipeline and keeping track of those leads. We don't want all the leads. We just want to make sure we're keeping track of the good leads.
Exactly. And that's what we always tell people. A click is not a relationship. It might be the beginning of a relationship, but it is never the relationship. So if you're one of those people who's invested in clicks in a funnel and, oh, look, they got all the way, but you
sell low ticket, sell your $7 quote unquote tripwire, which PS, a tripwire kills people. We don't kill people with our copy, right? Like look at the energy that you're putting behind your strategies and what you're naming things. You can do the $7 thing. There's nothing wrong with that. I've bought $7 or $17 courses. They're still sitting in my inbox or my Google Drive somewhere, and I never used them, or I opened them up and said, well, this was just BS. But it's the value, your experience, your authority. That's why I go high ticket, because when you can deliver a result and the people you can deliver results for, success is inevitable.
It is. And we find a lot of times if someone, we had a situation a couple of years ago where somebody came up to the stage and they were like, I want that program. It's $25,000. Talked to him a little bit and he actually told me his skill level. And I'm like, yeah, you belong in our $500 program. But he so appreciated that he went through all of those programs step by step by step, and he practically sold them to himself. And he was grateful at the end. He's referred a lot of people because we just didn't take his money and say, oh, well, you weren't ready. So you do have to be able to talk to people and listen to what
and
they're
deliver
telling you.
results. Oh,
Right.
let's just be clear and let's clarify something. Delivery does not end at the sales call. And so many people behave that way. I got the money, I'm good. No, you're not. They've invested in you. You need to also invest in them. And you're investing with some kind of exchange, whether it's time, strategy, whatever it is. But whatever you built, you better be delivering results on a consistent basis. Now, you can only control what you can control, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we qualify. That's why a guarantee works when you've got the right person. So you want to make sure that you're delivering beyond it. So we talked about this. It's kind of when you're in the corporate world. When you do your job, you get paid to do your job. When you over deliver, that's when you get promoted. So if you want your clients to work with you again, over deliver. You'll get promoted. They'll buy from you again. But you need to make sure that you're supporting them in a way that makes them feel like they are empowered and not necessarily dependent on you. It is a beneficial relationship, not one where you're just using and abusing.
Yes, that is so. I used to have a program with our quiz setup where I taught people, and at the end of the year, I would not take anybody on for a second year, and it's because you did it. It's time for you to fly. Sure. And a lot of people would say that wasn't a great model, but I thought it was, because I don't like that sales pitch at the end of the course. So let's go into your next one now. And let's go into, I'm ready to go on to something different.
And I can so respect that, because there is a time frame. We're only here to play in someone else's life for a certain time frame, right? Yeah. We've got to be completely present in our lives, but we're only a stepping stone for someone. Wherever they decide to go, that's fine. And there is a time and place, and sometimes that stepping stone's bigger, sometimes that stepping stone is smaller. But we need to know what that space is, because at the end of the day, there's ways of making money off of that same person. That sounds a little aggressive, but it's just like, if you have your community and you know exactly who they need to work with next to continue to get the results, then you can refer them and you're still monetizing that relationship. And what's going to happen is exactly what happened to you, which is they're going to become your ambassadors because you were in integrity and you treated them like a human being. Oh my God, there's a thought. Treating someone like they've got a pulse and that they can make decisions in their business. I mean, it's putting strategic effort into creating ease in your business. And there's lots of these opportunities, but people always want to pass by it, and they end up just turning in circles and creating more work for themselves.
Yes, I agree. So personal relationships, I just want to share something with you guys that I like to do a lot. And Kat, think of something that you like to do a lot as well. If I have clients or prospects or even past clients, and I happen to be giving a talk or something or an event in their city, I always invite them to lunch. No sales pitch, just, hey, great to meet you in person. Let's talk. And I feel like that's where I get most of my referrals, is people who are like, oh, really? You want to meet me? Which is not, it's not a big deal to meet me, but it's just more of a, oh, okay. Like, nobody else I've worked with wanted to do that.
And context, and you're keeping, it's what I call keeping on someone's radar. So, part of this is, and this is a great example of what you're doing. So I come from a corporate background. So I used to be, high-level consultant, managing hundreds of people on a team and multiple, hundreds of millions of dollars on projects and things like that. So there was always someone like knocking on my door. I need this, I need that. And it's just constant barrage of interruption. So if we think about our engagement online, that's what's happening. Someone is constantly interrupting you and bothering you in the middle of your day, pinging you in your email, getting you on direct message, distracting you from what you've been trying to do. Now, let's change the scenario a little bit. Someone knocks on your door and says, hey, I've got pink tickets. Want to come? Hey, I'm going out to lunch. Want to come? Yeah, you want to come because it's going to be an enjoyable experience. It's something you enjoy. It's something you value. Interrupt somebody with value. Don't interrupt someone to take. Most people are out to take, whether you're asking them to join your Facebook group or, do this thing or do that thing or whatever it is, you are taking from them instead of giving in the first place. We are so used to being asked for something that when someone gives us something, we welcome it with open arms. But what's happening is when you do that, building the relationship by giving value without the attachment to something, then that person is going to see you in a different light because you're not behaving like everybody else out there because they completely forgot their manners, like they're not human beings and they're acting like complete jerks online, Pitchy Pete, right? So part of what you're doing when you're doing the event, when you're doing these inviting out these people out, is you're creating that context, that good value, that those pleasant emotions and feelings, and you're tying them to that. And so when they're in a place of crisis, because I will tell you right now, when you realize this, it will change how you do business. Your clients typically buy when they are in crisis.
Yes.
If you understand that, then you can show up in a way that is loving and caring without taking advantage of their low point. So, what are the things? I call them firework experiences. What is it that you're doing that gives so much value that they're actually inviting people to join them, that they're going and they're planning it in their day and they're going to sit there and ooh and ah, because you are amazing, because you're driving so much value for them. Then they're going to want to see what that next step is. It may not be right after that, but I've had many a time where I've done one of these experiences and I've invited people to a call or I've invited them to this other kind of next step and someone hasn't booked something, but then I ran into them in person and they say, I've been meaning to book a call with you and I keep forgetting. It's why we keep making the invitation, because at some point they're going to be ready to buy. But if you don't invite on a consistent basis, if you don't figure out what the right question is to ask, then they can't say yes.
That's so true. Kat, this has been amazing. You guys, I hope you got a lot of value out of this. How can we find you and what are next steps if somebody wants to get a hold of you?
Is it okay if I share a free gift? Is that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I have something called the Lead Boss Jumpstart. So what I've done is actually pulled out pieces of my Lead Boss system. This is stuff that I actually teach people. And it's a 3-part training. You get instant access. The first part is all about how to structure your hour of lead gen a day, because at the end of the day, that's how you should be managing your time. You should be able to maintain your process in an hour a day. The second piece is you are already connected to $100,000 right now without adding a single new person to your connection list, without adding more cold people onto your pipeline. And so it's about, these are social media swipes that are going to help some of those people pop their hands up to say, I'm ready to work with you. And then the third piece is actually my close script. And it's what I use and my clients use to help close 80 to 90% of our sales calls. So those 3 things are immediately available to you, downloadable. Here's my caveat. This is my languaging. This is my personality. Change it to match yours. These are templates. Don't copy and paste. Infuse your personality, infuse your brand, infuse your persona so that people relate to you and want to buy from you. So you can find that. I always forget to, I always describe it. And I don't, that's it. You get to know what it is. You don't get to have it. So you can find that at fullybooked.ceo.
Fullybooked.ceo. That is amazing. And I love that you cover all of those aspects, because we've actually had people with our quiz who they're out there, they're using it, they're getting leads, and they're not good closers. So it's a big thing to be a good closer on there. Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. I super appreciate it.